I'm John Bowden, and our long form interview with the great Cindy Alexander. You know, our channel is mostly classic rock. We deal with classic rock musicians all the time. It's kind of our lane, as I say in this interview with Cindy. But then they sent me a link to her music. Then I realized I'd heard her before and I was familiar with her music. And I had to interview her because I fell in love with her new album, Messy. There will be links to her website all throughout the video and in the description as well. An incredibly satisfying interview to talk to someone who is really plugged into some beautiful things, even past the music. We cover a lot of ground, the Bacon Brothers. She was in a reality show and won it. It didn't go well because she didn't accept the offer that they gave her at the end of it. You'll hear more about that. Interviewing Carole King, she did, and she made her cry. And so much more with the great Cindy Alexander on Rock History Book.
Hey there.
Hey, look what I'm checking out. I'm checking.
Oh, yay.
I'm just, you know what? I just got into this, I've done so well on YouTube and my friends are going, how come you haven't done anything on these other modalities? And I went, I don't know, like I'm a big St. Bernard. I don't know. And so I'm noticing people getting, you're doing well. I'm checking this out with other people. Then I check out all my broadcaster friends because I've been in radio 40 years. They're doing all this they're doing all this stuff. And I'm going, oh, okay, I guess I should get into it. I'm like an old St. Bernard. You look great. How you doing?
Good. I'm on the floor. I'm at my friend's house. I wasn't supposed to be in LA today, so I'm gonna sit on pillows.
You got good lighting.
I do. Yeah, I buy the some of paper towels.
I've got a window right here.
Yeah,
I've got a window because all the help I can get, I try to do. It's all good.
Oh, here's more light.
No, you look great. There you go.
Right.
Bam.
Bam. Yeah.
My wife wanted me to tell you because it's not appropriate if I say it. My Shannon just came in. She says, "Oh my God, could you just tell her she's just amazing? I love her voice. She's so beautiful. She looks like she's 19. I just tell her whatever she's doing everything right, and she doesn't talk like this. But I decided to talk. What?
I use Canadian products on my
face. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, listen. Here's a huge compliment for you. It gets better all the time here. I don't do a lot of artists outside of classic rock on my channel because it's just my lane, right? But then they contacted me and I went, well, I always listen to people and I listened to you and I went, well, first of all, one of my friends, where is it? Oh, The Power of You. One of my friends sent me that song like a year ago. He says, you got to listen to this girl. And I'm going, is that the same lady? And I went, oh, God. And I got back to her right away. I said, yes, 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 yes. So there, you're that awesome.
Oh, thank you.
That's how I start my interviews. That's how I start my interviews, damn it.
Well, now I want to come to Canada. I've never toured in Canada, and I want to. So
okay, I want to start with this.
Yeah.
So you're in LA and you moved to Big Sur?
Yes.
Anyone who's driven through there, it's a little scary sometimes, but I'm a heights person. It gets me, but you never forget that. Let's start there. What got you to move there?
Well, when Chip, my husband, and I took our first vacation after the girls were born, we wanted to go someplace that was in driving distance from LA. And Big Sur was always on my bucket list of something I wanted to do. So we went there. And we just fell in love with it. And we said, someday, wouldn't it be great to live here? And when the pandemic hit, I think a lot of people made life choices and, very significant ones. And I lost my mom in March of 2020. And I felt like it was no longer necessary for me to be in Los Angeles because I wasn't caring for her. And there was no music industry at all. Like, why and I was already at that point, I was finishing up a record like remotely and sending tracks back and forth between the studios, and I couldn't tour. I'm like, let's go now. Let's make someday now. It's really wonderful to say, have these dreams and someday I'm going to do this, someday I'm going to do that. But I don't know, there was a shift in me and I we leapt, we went, and I have absolutely no regrets. It's incredible.
Call us what we are is like, I mean, I'm serious. You don't even, I love the song, but I look at that. What were you, I mean, you just said your husband, so you're not going through a breakup. Were you,
Okay.
were you channeling past
No.
stuff?
Okay. Yes and no, because at that point, in fact, I think the first song I probably wrote for that record was that song. Um, he and I were in a fight, and we had been recording a song that wasn't a song that I wrote, but I loved this song, and it was really, really difficult to sing. And he was playing engineer, and I was doing this one part over and over and over again. And he literally, and any if any other engineer did this, he would be fired. But it was my husband, right? And he's like, I hate this song. I can't stand this anymore. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to bed. And I was so mad because my voice changes day to day, hour to hour. And it's really hard for me to match tone. So if I had to go back in and punch, punch a vocal, it wasn't going to match, and I was going to have to start all over. I was furious, and I picked up the guitar and I started this little riff, and it was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of the stuff I wrote in the 90s. And I'm like, this is cool. And I just started and I was mad at him. So I had this this thing going on. And I had the first line is, I don't think you want me at your party, like, I'm not going to bed with you tonight, and I kept going. And then I remembered I had this amazing roommate, many, many years ago, who, when she broke up with her boyfriend, she scaled the wall of the apartment building, like up the fire escape, climbed the wall to peek into his window, and caught him with another woman. And so all these just memories are coming back into my head because I'm thinking about the 90s. And so I kind of took on her as my character, and finished off the song. And I didn't go back to bed till I finished it. And so there you go. That was Call Us What We Are.
Well, speaking of that, are you I married someone who did her homework on Friday night. Like, I'm going, that's mental to me. And I'm one of those guys at midnight on Sunday. All right, when you get an idea, how do you write? Do you have to finish? You have to Shannon's one of those close the files girls, and I'm intrigued by it, but I don't know it. Almost every musician I talk to, and I talk to a lot, they're always like, well, it comes here and there. But then now and then I'll interview a guy like the Little River Band, Graham Goebel, the guy who wrote Reminiscing, their biggest hit. He says, oh, God, I got to close the file. I've got to close the file. How are you? And has that changed with you as far as getting things done?
Well, if I'm really on to something, I write quickly, and I don't stop till I finish the song, because it's inspired. It feels like a channel. It feels like something's coming through you, and you need to keep listening. You don't want to say goodbye, muse. You're like, oh my God, you're here. Let me hug you and hold you, and all right, come through me, and you write. I know that sounds like kind of like,
no, it doesn't at all.
But that's kind of there are different types of songs. There are ones that I feel are channeled and inspired. And then there are ones where I'll get an idea, which, because I've used this creative muscle for so long, I go, all right, that's good. And then I'll craft it. And then I'll go, okay, come on. Give me the inspiration to go through this. I think my best songs are the ones that I write in 15 minutes, but then I've got some good ones that I worked on and crafted, and, you never know what's going to resonate with other people, but I certainly know the ones that I wrote really fast. I wrote Call Us What We Are like that. And I didn't know what to do with it, because it was so different from the previous records. And it actually reminded me of the stuff I did when I first started. My first record came out in 99. And there was an energy and I really don't care what you think, vibe about it. I'm just going to put out what I want to put out. And I played the song for my kids, and my kids were like, oh my God, Mom, this is so good. We want to put it on TikTok. And so I called Kirk Passage, who owns the label that I was on at the time, Blue Alon Records. I'm like, look, I got this song. It is not going to fit, the Blue Elan sound. And I go, but I really want to do this. Maybe I can do this under another name. And he said, I said, can I have permission to release this on my own? And I get a one word answer back, no. And then a conversation ensued. He's like, no, I have another idea. And there's an imprint now that he started called KZZ, where you can take the chances and kind of move outside the box and try some new things. And so that's what we did. We put this record out on KZZ. I love it. I love it. And did you get a chance to hear the whole record? There's such a broad spectrum of sound on it. So,
well, curious, describe that young lady in 1999. How would you describe yourself back then? And it's, by the way, it's a question I ask a lot of people.
Yeah.
They'll have these long careers and I'll go, well, who was that guy? I asked Justin Hayward a couple of weeks ago, who's the guy who wrote Nights in White Satin? He says, a guy I wouldn't hang out with now, but of course, who was that girl for you? Who was she?
I will tell you, she had been offered quite a few deals, but they were nothing compared to what she was doing on her own. I was using the internet. I was like one of those artists on mp3.com that like rose to the top and had this fan base that was created through technology that a lot of the industry was shunning, saying, don't go there, don't go there, don't go there. Napster, oh my God, people are stealing your stuff. But for me, Napster, I would go on Napster on my dial-up connection and see people playing this song called Sick of Myself, and I'd be like, how do you know about her? How do you know about Cindy Alexander? And, they say, well, I found her on MP3 and I downloaded this and I have this, and this too. And and then I go, actually, I'm Cindy Alexander and I want to thank you for listening to my music. And they'd go, oh, you're not Cindy Alexander. She wouldn't have dial-up. And so, but I would have conversations and meet my fans and they would say, God, I really wish you would come to Germany. And I was, single, no attachments, no kids. I'm like, I'll come to Germany. Can you put a tour together for me? And they did. Same thing happened in Ireland. And I was traveling around the world and I was just like soaking up cultures and people. And from those days till now, music is my adventure. It's not just my songs and my music, that's what like propels it. But what's like so enjoyable to me is that connection that I've made with people and it's amazing just the souls that come into your life because of music and how it connects us. It's very, very strong. And so she just, and I was also putting a lot of music in film and television, and that's how I was supporting myself. So the deals that were coming along, they were taking all my publishing and I couldn't make the money that I made, that I was making. And I also was going through, some hard times. My mom had cancer at the time, and I had been through some really traumatic experiences with label executives. I was locked in a sauna. I was told if I didn't do X, Y, and Z to a record executive that, it wouldn't happen and that I didn't want it bad enough. So that girl at the beginning was like, screw you guys. I'm not that person. And I'm going to make music and there's people out there that want to listen and I'm just going to do what I do. And I did a show at the Troubadour with the Bacon Brothers, Kevin Bacon's band, just like, and it was like right before I put out my first record, and they invited me on the road. So all of those like singles and little things that I've been putting out, I compiled them and made my first record to tour with them. And to this day, we still go on the road together. In fact, I'm going to be with them in September and October in Texas, and then I'll get on the East Coast. So
did you get the fan questions out of the way though with Kevin Bacon? Did you? How long did it take you to? You got just like give me a sec. Yeah. The weird thing, as a radio guy, we're taught right away, be cool. You got to be cool. If you're backstage, you're introducing a band, it's not for you. You're just a radio guy. There's 19,000 people in the audience saying, radio guy, get the off the stage. We want the band. Know your place. But also, when you meet these people, you got to be cool. So you obviously, you're a veteran. You know what you're doing. How long did it take you to get the fan questions out?
Oh, you know what? Growing up in Los Angeles and growing up around celebrities, I didn't have that. Like I never thought of anybody as as different or unapproachable just because they were actors or actresses and I just, so it didn't faze me. I just really liked Kevin and Michael and their band, and we all just hit it off. I think it was just a very natural friendship that grew, and we dug playing together, and the fun and the music, and I absolutely adored them. So I never had that, it's just not in my mental wheelhouse.
Yeah. You're wired cool, by the way. That's what I'd call that.
Oh, thanks.
No, I think that's because I half the people I talk to, they go, well, yeah, I'm not, they just say what you say. And I'm going, that's foreign to me because it takes everything I've got backstage for me not to be a fanboy. I'm going, and I don't do that with my interviews, but I certainly backstage, it's hard for me. By the way, life number 9, I like phrasing. I like phrasing where it sounds like someone's talking and there's lots of syllables. And tell me about that. I love that song.
Thank you. That's one of my favorites too. Life number 9. I co-wrote with Paul Trudeau. Paul Trudeau is in Billy Idol's band, by the way. He's the keyboard player for Billy. And Paul and I have been writing since the beginning, since I first started. And as parents, and people who we definitely made our mistakes, growing up, and we're talking about our kids, about teenagers, and about how they're so much older than we were at that age. And when a teen says to me, you don't understand, I agree with them, because I didn't grow up with TikTok and fentanyl, and sex trafficking and the kind of online bullying things that's going on. And there's just this, there's this peer pressure. Like, I can't tell you how many kids I know that cut, I didn't do that. We didn't do that. And now it's a badge of honor to them. And it breaks my heart. And I was trying to figure out how to put, the mistakes of our generation into a song and say, can you learn from this? And realize that you can't take these chances, because when you experiment today, you can die. And the song comes from there. And when I first wrote it, I was thinking about, the 9 lives of a cat, the 9th being your last chance to get it right. And, but then I'm like, if I'm going to use numerology, I really need to look it up. And I looked it up, and I am on life path number 9. So I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm going to roll with this. So I actually changed my handle. I used to be Peanut Sings, because that's my AOL. And I changed it to my life number 9 because of that. I'm like, okay, I'm in a new place in my life and in my career. I'm going to embrace this and give it everything I have.
There's that thing about, again, see, everyone I'm 63. Everyone I talk to has 10 years on me, almost everybody. The classic rockers, there's not going to be a Beatle in 20 years. They're going to be gone. And they're all looking at the clock. So you reminded me of something. I'm going, there's a beautiful thing. It's a hard fought battle of being, you get in a car, you learn to drive a car, and you're looking around and go, how am I going to remember all this? But when you get older, there's this thing about life driving that car where you're discerning, but it's almost unconscious. You've learned your lessons. You're fine-tuned of what you want and what you don't want in life. It sounds like you've gotten very, what you want.
I do, but
You sound discerning to me. You sound.
you know, when you ask me like who was that girl, I think that I kind of returned to myself. You know, you try a lot of things on, and then like who am I at my core? You know, and why do I make music? I don't make music for the industry. I make it for my fans and for myself because it keeps me sane. And I went back to just, I don't have to please anyone but myself, you know, and I'm really, I mean, this record to me is like, it's a return to me, but with that wisdom, you know, and with all those experiences that I've had since that first record came out. And, but allowing that abandon, like just to go there. Like you don't know what's going to happen when you try this, but and it may be something completely different than what you would think would go on a record. But I'm like, no, but I love this song, and I don't care that it's different. You know, I love it, and I want to play it. And if I have joy playing it and making it, then that's what's important to me.
I had a guru while I was going through my divorce in '86, and he looked at me and he says, find a balance of being unapologetic in your life. He says, find that balance of just being you.
Yes, that's it. And I'm glad you found that maybe earlier than
a little bit. Let's not get carried away now. I think a little bit. House Without Windows, doing well on Spotify. A great tune. Where did that come from?
Oh, that's Big Sur. That is, you know, when I lost my mom, I went and I was still, you know, still in Los Angeles.
Sorry, by the way.
Thank you. I'm okay. I feel her with me. You know, I feel her. I went for a hike in Griffith Park after she passed, and I was with a friend. And at one point, just these white feathers just fell over me. And I'm so glad that I wasn't alone, that somebody else saw that. We looked up and like, I could not find a bird. I didn't find a dead bird or anything. I'm like, what are these feathers? You know? And we both looked at each other like, it's Mom, you know? And what, even if it wasn't, or it was, it gave me this, like this peace. And I picked up the feathers and I put them in my pocket, and I still have them to this day. And when we moved up to Big Sur, I walked on this property, and there was like this warmth that came over me. And I'm like, before I even walked in the house, I turned to Chip. I'm like, this is it. This is the spot. This is it. And we walk up to the door, and there was a feather on the doorstep. And I like burst into tears. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Chip, I'm telling you, this is the house. And we walked in and made an offer that day on that house. And from the moment I was there, I felt like I belonged. I feel very in tune with every living creature. You know, people know I'm an animal lover, but also plants and anything living and breathing. And, you know, from the moment we were there, I had a family of raccoons came, and I was able to, you know, feed them and commune with them, and my squirrels, and I have a fox, and I have a possum, and I have a blue jay named DJ. And I felt embraced by Mother Nature. And so I wrote a love song to Mother Nature and to my husband, you know, like, this is where I belong. You can follow me here, you know, you follow me wherever I go, in the house without windows, meaning the earth, the home of Mother Nature, in this particular spot. So that's what that one is. That's probably, I mean, I know and that's again, like probably the most singer-songwriter gentle song on the record. That's another, I think it's one of my favorite songs I've ever written.
You know, at a young age, someone told me, says, you ever tried the bird love thing? I said, oh, what's that? Because I was, again, I hadn't had a lot of relationships with this young guy. Like, you know, guys sometimes when they're young, they're like big Saint Bernards. They really are. We're like, you know, I learned most of what I needed to know as a man from my female friends and bad relationships. But someone told me, says, you know, the lovebird thing, what's that? You know, pay attention when you're alone with birds, you know, like just admire, just love them. Like you would a beautiful woman, like just like And I started realizing, this is before I became a new agey dude.
Oh, you are a new agey dude?
Oh, I'm a very new, not as much as I used to be, but I used to go to the Buddhist Center in Vancouver when I lived there all the time. I remember being in an elevator, and the Rinpoche was coming to teach us medicine Buddha. So I'm in the elevator, and he's coming in, and he says, "Oh, Rinpoche, this must be good luck." And he looks at me, and what a Rinpoche would say, "Well, it is if you think it is." And I'm going, "Oh yeah, of course he'd say that." But the birds love thing, I started paying attention to birds, hyper focusing on them, and just sending them love when I saw them. And the thing would be like, the bird will hang around you a lot longer, if you do that. And I'd never heard that before. And to this day, I you can always tell the artist you can speak about this with, and then some people will think you're freaking crazy, but that's okay. And I realized, I was walking the other day, and I'm with my little dog. He's a little cockapoo. He's really cute, and he loves birds. And we were just sitting there, both of us, and he's not chasing them. And I'm looking at this bird. I'm going, "Oh, I forgot about the birds. But animals do that in general." You sound like you're doing that.
I do it all. Well, I know that this is their land that I live on. And they're like, I'm like the tenant, on their land.
Respect. Yeah.
Yes. And I talk, yes, I am. Some people might think I'm crazy, and that's okay. I do. I talk to animals, and they know my voice. I call them and they come. I was telling you, the blue jay, I can go out and say, DJ flies right over. Rocky is one of my female raccoons. She's the one that I met when I first got there. She brings her kits. I've seen her now have 2 litters, and I've met them. I've met them all. Rocky had Snap, Crackle, and Pop. Crackle and Pop went away. Snap still hangs around, and because I met Snap, as a baby, Snap has. My neighbors don't like this. Snap has no fear of humans at all. And Snap will come up to my kitchen door and try to open it, because the raccoons are my compost. So she really, Snap really wants some food. She'll be right up at the door. It's really cute. I talk to them, and I love them, and they inspired a song.
Where'd the title, messy is interesting. It means a lot of things to a lot of people. Tell me about that.
Well, life is messy.
Yeah.
Life is very messy. And I've lived a beautiful, messy life. I'm a cancer survivor. I have, I've dealt with, some trauma in my life, in various ways. But you can make art out of chaos, and you can find beauty in that mess. And I thought, I'm going to just take all of this, and the pain that we've all collectively gone through in the last few years. I'm just going to take all of that, and I'm going to put that into this record. And I'm going to go into those dark corners, and I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to make something beautiful out of it. And I'm also going to, rock it out, and I'm going to laugh, because laughter is really great medicine, as we all know. And I wanted to hit all of that on this record. And I think I did.
You sound like the perfect person to ask. It's a question, and you won't be surprised by this, that Rich, if you're away from Buffalo, Springfield, and Poco, Rusty Young had just died. A big member of Poco.
Yeah, Rusty's on one of my records.
Is that right?
Yeah, we did a song together. A song I wrote called "My Favorite Artist," and he played pedal steel on that. I love Rusty. I miss him. I've collaborated with him more than once. We did a version of Crazy Love in the studio.
Yeah.
He was a label mate. It was really a beautiful thing.
Well, I asked Richie, I says, okay, Richie's a religious man. I'm not a religious man. Like I told you, I'm more of a cosmic guy. So Richie, where's Rusty? I've interviewed Richie enough that I could ask him that question. He wouldn't take offense to it. And he gave me, the Christian. He's up there, he's hanging around with his friends and family. I said, well, that's cool. It's a beautiful thing. I have nothing against religious people. And I mean, I asked George Benson years ago, what's it like being a JW?
Yeah.
I said, nothing. I don't know anything about Jehovah's Witness, but why are you a G? He says, because I know my fellow man, wherever he is doing the same thing I am. And I'm going, well, this is a Course in Miracles? But he didn't explain it. So anyway, I asked, but where are we going when we leave this mortal coil?
Wow, you want to go there?
I want to go there. Where do you think? Have you had experiences? Because another question I ask when I can is, have you had religious experiences? But you're having religious experiences with what's around you.
So I'm not. I would say I'm not religious.
I don't mean religion. You know
I'm
what I
very
mean?
spiritual.
Spiritual. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I can go I've never talked about this.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
But you know what? Why not? Because I really don't have anything to hide anymore. I really don't. And I'm also at that place where if I say something and somebody like shuts me out because of what I say, I just don't care anymore.
Well, I'm also there with you. So,
right.
So it's like there's a lot more out there.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you this. This is exclusive to you.
Thank you.
When I was 21, I was hit by a drunk driver and I almost died. I spun across the 405 freeway, hit the divider wall, and was facing oncoming traffic. And at that time, my life kind of it's almost like watching a movie reel. And I'm like, well, all right, I kissed mom and dad goodnight tonight. So I was driving back to USC, and oh God, my best friend Erin, she needs me still. But I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I can't go yet. And I remember saying, please God, don't let me die. All right. And it was also at a point where I wasn't sure I believed in anything. Okay. I was just I ended up on the side of the road. I don't even know how I got there. And the car that had hit me, the next person that it hit, they died. So when the police came and they saw that I was alive, they just called an ambulance and they left me to go catch the guy and deal with the people in front of me. So it was like this turning point, number one, where I believed in something greater than myself. And I didn't need, and I've always believed that it's semantics. And that I just think it's important that people just find their way, and they just know that it's not just you. There's something greater. So I knew that at that point. But something else happened. It was almost like a channel opened, and I started hearing things. And somebody might say I'm psychotic, and somebody might say I'm going to hell because I hear voices or whatever. But the first time that it happened, I was at a funeral, and I felt that the person was trying to talk to the person that was giving the speech. And it was so clear. It was so clear to me. And then it started happening more and more. And to the point where actually, like, I did go talk to somebody. I'm like, there's something going on here. Am I crazy? Whatever. And
which proves you're not crazy. By doing that proves you're not crazy.
Yeah. And I was forwarded to a woman who actually is a channel, and she kind of taught me how to close that when I need to and access it when I need to. And it's become a really, really beautiful thing to me, because, and it's probably one of the reasons why I'm okay with my mom. You know, my mom had dementia. And for the last, it was a very slow goodbye for 5 years of like losing her mind. And I remember when she told me, she's like, look, we all have the same fate. We're all going to die, but it's either your body first or your mind first. And with me, it's going to be my mind. But I always knew she was in there. And I feel like that her soul is free of that container. And from the things that I have now heard over the years from spirit, from spirits, and I believe that time is not linear, that it's all now. Everything is going on at the same time. And um, I believe there is an evolution of your soul, and that we are here in this container and in this life to learn certain lessons and to connect with certain people, that we're all connected. You and I are connected. The fact that music brought you and I together and we can have this conversation, this is important. And I just think that the creativity is a gift from that higher power. And you're given this gift and you're supposed to give it back and keep circulating. That's part of that connection, that beautiful connection that music affords us. So yeah, I know there's more because I'm connected to it. And I also understand that I will never understand right now in this form, but I believe and I have respect for it. And I'm incredibly grateful for my life and the tools that have been given to me, and the fact that I can sing and I can write. And yeah, so that's kind of where I am.
So artist goes out and sees people, feels what she's doing or he's doing on stage, just is in the moment. Like there's something about being an artist and being aware and not aware. And she was just being very beautiful when she was talking. But there's that thing. Would you be here if you weren't an artist, or would you think you'd still, because you're like living and you're in your body, man. Has being an artist helped you with that? Has that accentuated your belief in who you are in the world?
You don't choose it. You are. I was born this creative being, and and I feel called to do what I do. This is my life path. This is, I don't know, but there's more than just that. I mean, it's about connecting. Mm-hmm. I'm a connector. That's what I do. And but I'm also, a family person. My kids, my family, they come first.
Well, yeah, you're right. You said you don't choose it. This is it.
It's just who I am. It is who I am. And I see a monarch butterfly outside right now. Everything, like life is very symbolic to me. Like that's my father-in-law. You and I would not have met were it not for music. All right. So yes, but so it's like music is a guide, being an art, like it's a guide that kind of that, as I said, is taken me on this incredible adventure and brings amazing souls into my life. And what the publicist said to you is correct. This thing happens when you get on stage, and you start to connect in that there's this energy that happens between an artist on stage and the audience. And when that energy reaches and you're connected, it's almost like this outer body experience, because you're so in the moment, you don't know what you're doing. And you'll get off stage and you go, I have no idea what I just did, but it felt good, And that's when you stop thinking so hard and you just do it. And those are the best shows. Like you're not really sure what happened, but it felt so good and you felt so connected to the audience.
So your mother was a teacher, your dad was an attorney.
Yeah.
And I'd heard you say in a previous review interview that it skipped a generation for you. Because who was it in the previous generation? Who was it that was music?
My dad's mom was a music teacher. And she's the one that would come and she would play piano, and I would sing. And, and I fell in love with it. I started playing by ear. And my mom got me piano lessons, right away. She's like, oh, you like to play piano, I'll get you lessons. And then the teacher fired me because I was improvising. Like I would be playing Beethoven and go, wouldn't it be really cool if we went like this instead? And she's like, oh my God, don't, and she said to my mom,
Stick to the notation.
She's like, I am not the right teacher for this girl. And then my mom found somebody else. And I took for like, I don't know, maybe 6 months. And that was it. Because I played what I wanted to play. And I had enough vocabulary, that I could then go on and, do what I wanted to do. I just wanted to play the songs I heard on the radio, that I wanted to sing to, or that my parents were playing in the car that I liked. And I didn't really realize that I was a songwriter until later. I was acting first and doing musicals and things like that. I loved being on stage, but I didn't realize that I could write my own part. And it wasn't until it was kind of pointed out to me, like, that's what you do.
Have you ever been in the same room with Joni Mitchell?
No, I've been in the same room as Carole King.
Ooh.
Yes.
But see, before we go to Carole King,
yeah.
So I've got, when you'd mentioned Mary Chapin Carpenter, Joni Mitchell, Carole King. Yeah. But before we go there, as I'm listening to you talk, I have a friend named John Cody. No one knows who he is in Canada. He's a great artist. I love him so much. He became a friend of mine. He's going through a lot of stuff. And then I got to know John, who knew Joni's ex-husband produced his second album. But anyway, I once interviewed, a few times, Chris Bodie, the trumpet player. And I knew he'd worked with Joni. And I went, okay. I said, describe being in a vehicle with Joni Mitchell. And he said, oh my God, she'll pick. You don't get her to pick. She'll pick something she's going to talk about. And she'll just, it's like a painting. And of course she paints.
Right.
And I told this to John later on. I said, well, John, is she like, and he goes on. You can't just, describing Joni Mitchell, of course, is never a word or 10 words. Right. It's this long diatribe of beauty.
She's got it.
But I listen to you and I'm going, oh my God, I would just love for you to be in the same room as Joni Mitchell, just for you guys to sit down and talk.
I would too.
She would love you. I don't even know her. I've never met her. I think because there's a beautiful rhythm to the way you are. And I would just love to see you. I'd like to be a fly on the wall. You and Joni Mitchell talk together.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it. I mean, I see Brandi Carlile and I'm like, you got the ticket there, to seeing the two of them together, and that relationship is really, really beautiful.
See, Brandi to me is she's another artist that I shouldn't like because I don't usually lean there. And I love artists. Bruce Hornsby did that to me. He used to introduce me to genres, and I'm going, I don't like the blues. And I'd go, now I love the blues. Now I understand the blues. Now I appreciate the blues. Why wouldn't I like the blues? I'm an idiot if I don't like the blues. But you like what you like. You don't like what you don't like. Exactly. But tell me about the Carole King experience.
It was early on, and she was putting out her first independent record called Love Makes the World. She was doing it on her own. And she has, she's notorious to have stage fright. And she gets very nervous talking to, journalists and stuff. And her management had decided, it would be great just to have you talk to another singer-songwriter that loves you, that just wants to ask you questions, and we'll film it. And that'll be your press kit. So she says to the assistant, find me an indie singer-songwriter that you think Carole would like, that loves Carole, and let's make this happen. And so lucky for me, Lisa Goich Andreadis, who is also a wonderful author, and she's a great woman. She had heard my music, and she reached out to me and said, would you like to talk to Carole King? I'm like, yes, I would, of course. How do I sign up? What do I do? And she's like, no, seriously. She's like, I want you to come, you're going to come into her house, and I'm going to give you a list of questions that we want you to ask, but you can ask her anything you want. And I was like, oh my God, this is a dream come true. And I did. So I made my little list of questions, and they gave me a list, and I sat down with Carole and spent a couple hours with her, asking her anything I wanted to ask her. And she was the one that was on camera. And I was like kind of off camera asking the questions. And at one point I made her cry. It was like my Barbara Walters moment.
What was the question?
the question was, it was about how when we write songs, they are our creative children. There's this attachment to them, and it's so hard to pick favorites. And and I so I started, and we started talking about that creative birth, and how profound it is when something comes out of you from nothing, that, and whatever it was, when we were talking about like trying to pick a favorite off the record, whatever. And she just started crying when we were talking about that. And so then they're like, okay, we need to get this on camera. So they put a little makeup on me, and then they started filming it. We went from there, and I still don't have a copy of that, by the way. Never saw it. But I know it was used. Anyway, yeah, it was an amazing time, and I never forgot that. Never forgot that.
Yeah, on last Thursday, I interviewed Bill Simzik, the Hotel California Eagles producer. Mm-hmm. And I said, what was it like being in New York when you were beginning to be a producer and they were giving you chances and you hadn't picked your bands yet? He says, I had a Goffin King moment. I walked into a room and they were working together. And he says, at the beginning, I didn't really know who they were, but then I got who they were. And he says there was just there was just something, when someone's plugged in, not that they're more important than anybody else. He said, but there's an energy thing. And there was it's a moment he never forgot. He just he wanted to be a fly on the wall. They let him do it. They didn't, Carole didn't say, what's going on? What are you doing here? They knew he was kind of there to learn. But moments like that don't go unnoticed, right?
Right. No, there's something she said to me, and it actually really, really affected me. And I'm glad you brought this up, because I thought about it when I worked on this new record. I remember her holding my first record, See Red, and she's looking at it, and she looks at me. She's like, do you know what I love about this record? And I'm like, no, tell me. She's like, I love that you have a sense of humor. And she says, don't ever lose it. Don't ever lose your sense of humor. And so when I started writing Messy and putting Messy together, and I was like, Call Us What We Are, I told you, was like, okay, I'm like, here I am. Like, good, there's some humor there. Carole's going to like this one, and then I started getting really serious on the record. I'm like, oh, Carole would say, don't lose your sense of humor, and freeloaders. I wrote freeloaders. So she's affected my career deeply as me as a writer. She's definitely influenced me, and in our conversation that we had way back then, it's definitely stayed with me.
That's amazing. I didn't know you had been in that situation, because by the way, Star Tomorrow, like, what happened to that show?
Oh, God.
What happened? That sounded like such a great idea, and I'm going Billy Gibbons, David Foster, Mick Fleetwood, Travis Barker. That's like, I know that it wasn't David Foster in the beginning and it changed, but like, what happened to that show?
It was David Foster from the beginning with me. Like, by the time by the time we filmed it and did it, it was his show.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't, I think it's still in effect. I don't know. It's probably in perpetuity. I signed a non-disclosure, thing. So there's things I can't tell you about.
Of course, that's fine.
But, I did kind of destroy it, because I won Star Tomorrow, and I didn't accept the prize. And the prize was a record deal, which I can't go into detail about what it was, but it was not acceptable to me. Okay. And there were just certain clauses that I couldn't have gone through my career under those circumstances. So when you do a show like that and the winner says, bye, what are you going to do? So, yeah.
That was beautiful. That was well said.
But the cool thing is that there was an attorney on the other side of that show, who I had actually met years before that through my dad, and had kind of been following me. And so he was on the other side of the negotiating table, but he took even more notice of me when I said no, to the deal. And he ended up being the person that, when I had cancer, reached out to me and said, "Hey, I see you're having some problems with your insurance company. Um, I know that I'm an entertainment lawyer, but I also work with insurance companies. I think I can help you here. You want to come in and talk to me?" So I went in and I met with him, and he said, "All right, I want to give you a choice." He's like, "We can do a class action lawsuit. Um, or I see that you're fan funding a record. How's that going?" And this was back in 2013. So I was writing my way through cancer, basically. And I said, "Well, people just don't have the expendable income that they used to, but I'm raising some money." And he's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "Music is healing me. I just want to keep creating this music because it's getting me through."
Mhm.
And he's like, "What do you need to finish the record?" And I told him, and he's like, "I'll help you finish your record. You have a choice. I'll give you the money right now, finish your record, or we can do a class action lawsuit." I'm like, "I want to finish my record." Like, what do you want? He's like, "I don't want anything. I love your music. I want to hear your music." And I'm like, "Really?" Anyways,
Oh
that was
my
Curve. That was the
God.
record. And when I was done with it, he's like, "You need to do something with this." And I said, "I'm just glad that I'm alive." And he's like, "No, you need to do something with this." I said, "Then you need to start a record label." He's like, "Actually, I think I will." And that was Kirk Passage, and that was the beginning of Blue Alon Records. So
Wow.
yeah, and he's also the one that, he said, when I started, making this music that wasn't exactly fitting what we were doing over there, he's like, come over, let's do this through KZZ. We'll distribute it through Blue Alon, but I want to make this record for you, with a different team and a different vibe around it. So that's what we did.
There's another side to do the work and get in the room. There's also the vibe of who you are and people getting what you do or feeling what you do. Like that, what you just described to me, I'm going, that doesn't happen every day to people.
No, I'm really blessed. I'm really blessed. And as I said, music brings people into your life for a reason. And he is a patron of the arts, and he connected with what I do. And you know, I was ready to walk away from music when I was diagnosed. I'm like, I need to spend more time with my family and just make
Yeah.
memories. And I wrote a song about that. It's called Old Dreams. And but he allowed that dream to follow me home. That's the thing. You lay your gifts upon the stone, you know, walk away and some will follow you home. Lay your dreams upon the stone. And yeah, so and it did it. And he's the reason. And he has kept me going, and my fans have kept me going, this
Mm-hmm.
whole time. So I'm 10 years. I'm 10 years cancer free this week. Oh my gosh, this week.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You know what? I've got another one at the top of the air. I could talk to you all day. You know what? You have done something to me, and I thank you for that. I mean, I don't have interviews like this very often. It's nice when you talk to two people and it sounds like just two people sharing stories. Sharing what we're here to love each other. We're here to share stories. We're here to hang out. We're here to talk to birds. Whatever floats your boat. But I appreciate you. Thank you.
And I
For
appreciate you. And it's really wonderful to talk to you. And I hope we can stay connected
yeah,
from here on
yeah.
out. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to talk to you. You take care.
You too. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did talking to Cindy Alexander. The brand new album is called Messy. There are links in the description. Just Google her name, you'll find her website. Listen to it on all the streaming service, but if you can buy it, please do. She's an angel. Thanks, Cindy, for talking to us. I'm John Bowden. Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. And of course, buy a t-shirt if you're inclined. You can make a donation to the channel in the description. Join our Patreon, get early access to all our clips. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Book. Take care of yourself.